May the love you share be the bond that brings you strength and comfort and joy.
Well, the moment that Marlena united Will and Sonny in marriage was also a major step forward for television, for the gay community, for the straight community. I mean, come on, here's how we do this thing. I love the actors. I love, at that point Chandler had moved on, but it was iconic. And I was really proud of all of us that got to bring that to the audience. And once again, we lead by example. Here's how you do it. The Sid story was tricky because none of us, thankfully to God, have never been through it. But I needed to know about it, so I did a lot of research. And I talked to a lot of women who had given permission, to use their emotional experience in the telling of the story. And what I heard over and over was they became not themselves. They became, that was a mother in her most vulnerable moment, reaching for that baby who she has given her life and her heart to, and it's a paralyzing moment. And there were, many of them had very violent reactions to it. That I discussed with our then executive producer, saying, there were women who put the baby in boiling water because they didn't know how to bring it back to life and warm it up. I mean, it's human nature at its most lost moment, and that was the place from which that moment came. I was so thrilled when Samantha joined the show because, obviously played by my twin sister, and because she is a natural performer, even more so than some people would say I am. She is a special education teacher, and she every day of her working career acts out like a crazy person in front of children. It was a thrill to see her come to life in that way, and I knew that she would, and as in every area of her life, she just never disappoints. I remember levitating like it was this morning because it was a huge stunt that had to happen. I did actually rise off the bed with no visible signs of any help doing it. And I knew, as we do when we read those scripts, I knew the church, it's Christmas, it's midnight Christmas Eve, and the church choir is singing and everybody's there, and she's about to make all hell break loose. And it was a fabulous moment to play and to in my imagination see how it would play into the show. The coming out of Will was extraordinary for me for a lot of reasons. What thrilled me the most was the fact that we, as a storytelling medium, were going to talk to the gay community about how wonderful their life can be when the people around them embrace them. I don't know why this does this to me. It was a story of such acceptance and such love. And what poured out of that moment was volumes of mail, volumes of calls that talked about, I had my mother sit down and watch a scene. I had my grandparents sit down and watch a scene. I didn't know how to tell them what I needed from them, and that was it. That's what I needed from them. And it was the gift that we got to give our beloved friends in the gay community and the people that love them, which was, hey, here's how you do it. They haven't changed a moment. That's it. It's still the person you loved about a minute ago. And Chandler Massey was brilliant. I was gobstruck to be doing those scenes with him. Anyway. Iconic. Storybook. The moment that every man or woman in the world who's lost a love dreams they'll have at some point. I was told I was the Salem Stalker in the executive producer's office by our head writer, Jim Riley. And I was gobstruck, dumbstruck, and then fascinated. You know what? I didn't feel a lot of confusion about who was John and who was Roman. The confusion for me actually lay in how does she feel about these people? How does she feel about John as John, and then John thinking that he's Roman, and then Roman coming back and not being John? It was, it really came down to she loved both of these men for all the right reasons with all of her heart. John and Marlena having sex on the conference table was, I thought, was an interesting writer's choice, because they're highly sexual and they're highly attracted to each other, but I hadn't thought they were that sort of racy, dangerous, maybe irresponsible. So I think that was just the passion of the moment, and the device of Sammy was just brilliant storytelling. Well, 40 years of Marlena has been, it's 40 years of my life, because we're sort of the same person, she comes to work with me, she comes home with me, I work on lines when I'm home, and she really is, I play her out of myself, I've said that before. So it's looking back at scenes, very, very old scenes now, 40 years ago, I'm reminded more of how far we've come in daytime, how far we've come on Days of Our Lives, how far we've come in the storytelling process, and actually how far Marlena's come, because she hasn't really changed. She's iconic in her belief in people, and her belief in her family, and her dedication to everybody around her. That's never wavered, and that's never been a quality that's changed about the character. So it's just been more time doing it.